I've been thinking about a decision I made in 2020 that a lot of people don't like. When COVID cases rose again in Kentucky, the governor recommended that churches shut down. Many did, and I understand the pressure was real. The messaging was clear. If you keep meeting, you're reckless, unloving, and part of the problem. Well, the local news even showed up. They came to our church because we refused to cancel. I told them, well, what I'll tell you now. We had already gone online back when the COVID thing first happened. We did for about 4 weeks, but noticed pretty quick that something essential was missing. The Bible does not treat the gathering of the church as optional. We did take precautions. We did some distancing. Those who wanted to wear masks wore masks. We sanitized everything. But we were not going to surrender the Sunday worship service because the state said it was safer. And for that decision, I received a ton of hate messages. People called me reckless. They called me all kinds of names, called me unloving. Some said I was putting the whole community at risk just so we could have church. The criticism, it wasn't mild. It was intense. It was personal. And it was constant for a while. That is what the climate was like if you refused to shut the doors. Well, that decision, the one I made, wasn't about politics at all. It was about authority. Who has the final say over the church's gathering? Is it the state or is it the church? Well, Christ, of course. He has the final say. So this week, that question came roaring back. On Wednesday, Anthony Fauci, he sat in front of a Senate committee and he took the Fifth Amendment, and he took it more than 100 times. The man who became the public face of the entire COVID response, he refused to answer questions under oath about the origin of the virus, the funding, and the decisions that shaped the lives of millions, including the life of the people that was going to church. So, thinking about this, I just want to say it plainly. When that same system that demanded near total compliance and shamed anyone who questioned it now has its most prominent spokesman refusing to speak under oath, well, that troubles me. It tells me that something is deeply, deeply wrong. The demand for trust back then, as you may remember, was absolute. The accountability has been almost non existent. In 2020, churches were told the responsible, loving thing to do was to shut the doors. Gathered worship, it was treated as non essential. And the pastors, well, the ones who refused, they were painted as the most dangerous people on earth at the time. Many churches complied quickly. Some never fully recovered their conviction that the assembly of the saints actually mattered. I did not comply, and I do not regret it. Many threw at me Romans chapter 13, and Romans 13 is real. We are to submit to governing authorities. That is not in dispute. But Romans 13 is not a blank check, and that's where many of them got it wrong. The state does not get to redefine the church's obedience to Christ whenever a crisis appears. Hebrews 10:25, well, it stood before 2020, it stood during 2020, and it stands afterwards. We are not to forsake the assembling together. That command does not disappear because public health officials prefer us be online. There is a reason many of us pushed back. We had already watched the first lockdown. We saw how quickly 2 weeks to slow the spread became something much, much longer. We saw how easily the church's gathering was treated as just something that was disposable. And we decided we would not hand over that authority again without a clear and compelling reason. I want to be direct about two failures I see. First, well, that's the failure of institutions. The public was told to trust the experts without question. Dissent was framed as ignorance or malice. Years later, the central figure in that whole effort sits in a hearing and declines to answer basic questions. That should sober every Christian who was pressured to treat official guidance as near Scripture. But secondly, I want to talk about the failure of many churches. Too many pastors outsourced their discernment. Too many treated the government recommendations as binding on the conscience of the church. And well, let me tell you, that was a big, big mistake. Pastors will have to give an account for the flock. That responsibility cannot be permanently delegated to governors or public health departments. See, we must avoid ditches, ditches that can be on both sides of this issue. We must avoid the ditch of conspiracy and constant rage. Not every official was acting in bad faith. Fear was real, knowledge was limited, but we must also reject the other ditch, the one that says Christians should simply comply and stay quiet whenever the state claims there's a crisis. The church does not exist at the pleasure of the government. We exist under the lordship of Jesus Christ. When temporary authorities begin to treat the worship of God's people as non essential, pastors have a duty to push back. I kept the church open in 2020 because I believed the gathering of the saints was non negotiable. I took all the hate that came with it, and watching Fauci take the fifth this week, well, that only hardened my convictions. I made the right call, and I know it for sure now. We will continue to gather, we will continue to preach, and we will not surrender the authority of Christ's church the next time the pressure comes. That's where I stand. God bless you, my friends, and thank you for listening.